Hey everybody, this is meteorologist Brad Panovich. Hope you are having a great Easter Sunday, but we got to talk about severe weather. Tonight we've got the potential for some strong storms moving into the area. So let's start first with what's happening right now. You can see across our area we've got some scattered showers, but the real big concern overnight into early tomorrow morning is going to be this threat of severe storms down to the southwest. And I'm going to show you the radar here. You can see the line of storms that's going to be heading our way during the overnight hours. Now, this isn't going to arrive in the Charlotte area or the Carolinas until after 2 a.m. We're really looking at more of that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m. kind of time frame. So depending on where you are across the Carolinas, this threat is going to move from west to east. Earlier in the overnight hours, it's going to be 2, 3 a.m. But for the Charlotte area, I-77 corridor, the heart of the Metro line area, we're probably talking more around sunrise. So let me kind of show you what I think is going to unfold during the overnight hours. And the first thing first, I got to start with the severe weather outlook. Now, this outlook, I'll be honest with you, it's really confusing sometimes for people to understand what's going on here, because the way the severe weather outlooks are issued, they're issued from 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's a 24-hour period, really from one day to the next, but sometimes the outlooks are labeled for one day. So for instance, this is the Saturday or Sunday outlook in this case, but really Monday is when a lot of this severe weather is going to hit in the eastern part of this section. The reason I say that is I'm going to add something real quick here. I'm going to add let me add a little telestrator here. You can see my telestrator actually being added as I talk to you. I am going to add this as yellow. And the reason I'm doing this is, there we go. So this section of the outlook is from 8 a.m. Sunday to 8 a.m. Monday. So when you look at the eastern part of this outlook, this says this is what's going to happen closer to 8 a.m. on Monday. So as I advance this, you'll notice this is 8 a.m. Monday morning, but watch what happens at 8 a.m. That threat kind of shifts to the east. Now, earlier today, people were like, oh my gosh, this is shifting over this Charlotte area. Well, you got to remember, the threat was right here for Sunday, and then at 8 a.m., it's over here. So it's a continuation. So that the problem is this line is going to hit the Charlotte metro area and most of the Piedmont of our viewing area right around 8 a.m., which is the cutoff between day 1 and day 2. So I know it seems really, really confusing, but that's basically what's happening. And that's why you see, oh, it looks like it's a bigger threat. And it's really not. The threat has always been there. So let me show you the tornado threat. This is the tornado threat tonight through 8 a.m. because this is 8 a.m. Sunday to 8 a.m. on Monday. And the area you notice right off the bat, boy, Charlotte is right in this like red area that's hatched. Now, red means 10% probabilities. Now, I've got a lot of questions. 10% doesn't seem like that bad, Brad. Remember, the average chance of you being impacted by a tornado on any given day is like 0.0001. It's really small. So when there's a 10% chance, that's 1,000 times higher than an average day. So I know it seems small, but it's actually much higher because on any given day, your chance of being hit by a tornado is really small because 36 tornadoes per year hit North Carolina. It's not really all that much. That's, if you're within 25 miles, you're considered in the threat area. So the fact that there's a 10% chance is really significant. It's not like rainfall where a 10% chance of rain seems like nothing because if you get hit by a raindrop, who cares? But if you get hit by a tornado, that's a life or death situation. So there's a huge difference. Don't treat these like rain chances. This is not a rain chance. This is a tornado chance. So while tornadoes are very important, and a lot of folks are really concerned about tornadoes for a good reason. I mean, come on, let's face it. Tornadoes are a very serious situation. But overall, the threat for tornadoes is actually pretty low in a spectral standpoint and from a geographical standpoint, because overall the threat of a tornado just is not very big compared to the damaging wind threat. Now, as we go into Monday, watch what happens. You see that threat shift to the east. So basically what happened was the Storm Prediction Center said, hey, we're going to throw in that 10% chance here, which will get us to the 10% chance in eastern North Carolina. So pretty much if your address has NC or SC, which is North or South Carolina, in its address, you've got a threat for a significant tornado tomorrow. Now, tornadoes on average width is like 500 yards, maybe a quarter mile. That's pretty small, but damaging wind threat is really big across the entire area. So while we're talking about tornado threat, damaging winds is by far our biggest threat across the area. So let me break this down. We're going to look first at significant tornado parameter. Now, this is a parameter we look at. It's just ingredients for tornadoes. Doesn't mean tornadoes are going to occur, but it means the ingredients are there. We'll go to 3 o'clock in the morning. Here's the risk. You know, from a scale from 0 to 10, you start to see 2s and 3s showing up. That's very similar to what we had back on February 6th when we had several tornadoes across the Charlotte area. As we go into the afternoon, I'm going to stop this right about here. This to me is pretty crucial. You start to see some of the ingredients here. I mean, those are pretty high. You look 2, 3s, you're starting to see some pretty significant numbers here. Very similar to back on February 6th. And even there's some highlighted spots around Salisbury, 7.6. You know, think about it. 2 to 3 was when we had 6 tornadoes touch down the area. 7.6 in Salisbury, 0.9 in Monroe. Now, I don't want Lancaster saying 0.0 because that's like more like a 7 there. But just to give you an indication, that's pretty significant setup for actual tornadoes across our area. So let's break this down. We're going to show you this as it unfolds. We've got some heavy showers and thunderstorms over us tonight. I'm looking over at my other monitor here just to see what's going on to our west. Let's go out into the future here. Let's stop this right around 3 a.m. So 3 a.m., we've got a pretty significant chance of really strong storms here in the mountains. This is 3 o'clock in the morning, mind you. So 3 o'clock, pretty strong chance. Let's go a little bit further. I'm going to stop this at 5 a.m. So 5 a.m., that's a nasty line of storms moving through Boone, Taylorsville, Morganton, Hickory, Lincolnton, Shelby, 5 o'clock in the morning. Pretty significant threat for severe storms there. So something I seriously would not take for granted. 6:30 a.m. Notice that threat starts shifting over the I-85 and I-77 corridor, I should say. Really strong storms. Again, possible rotation in all those storms. Moves east. This is 7 a.m. Again, this is the latest run. And we just ran this model. We run this model every hour. And we use the current radar data to kind of give you an update on what's going to happen here. And you can see pretty significant threat for severe storms by 7 a.m. Let's go a little bit further. 8:30 a.m. Really significant threat. Man, from Southern Pines down to Rockingham, that is not a real good setup there. Those are strong storms. And then by 9, 10, 11 a.m. it starts moving into eastern North Carolina and areas near the coast. So pretty much everybody is going to see some type of severe weather. There's damaging winds. Hopefully that's the worst of it. And then maybe an isolated tornado. Here's the rotation tracks. Rotation tracks are one of those things we look at quite frequently. Rotation tracks, again, aren't indications of tornadoes. They're indications of storms that have rotating updrafts. And remember, statistically, about 30% of storms that produce rotating updrafts produce tornadoes. So, 1 out of 3 times, you essentially have a chance of a tornado in these storms. So just to show you the intensity and duration of these tracks, notice the timeline here. 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then pushing east. So, this isn't, these updates aren't to scare you because honestly, The overall threat of tornadoes is small because of how small they are. They're only about a mile or less in width. So if you get 3 or 4 of those, they're pretty tiny. But the problem is tomorrow, the setup in the atmosphere is that these storms will have the potential to be not just weak little spin ups, but EF 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I'm not going to say we're EF 5s. It's just we never had EF 5 in North Carolina, at least on record. So we're not going to see something like that. But EF 2, 3, 4 tornadoes are pretty significant tornadoes. These aren't going to be little spin ups. These are going to be significant tornadoes. And we've seen that in Louisiana, parts of Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama tonight. So it only takes 1 or 2 of these hitting the right spot to be a problem. The bigger concern to me is the widespread wind damage. Okay, wind damage across a big chunk of our area. And I'm going to show you the wind just to show you the wind speeds at 5,000 feet. This is what we consider the low-level jet. So low-level jet right here around 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to actually pause this right here. We'll play this and then pause it. Look at some of these wind speeds. Now, notice that brown area over Charlotte. That's 90 to 100 mile an hour winds at 5,000 feet. Okay? If any of that wind mixes down to the surface via a thunderstorm, a shower, a cold front, those are really strong winds, probably 60, 70 mile an hour winds at the surface. So we're talking about some damaging winds down at the ground. Let's go out even further. You can see those winds by about 9, 10 a.m. start to shifty. So there's that time frame in the morning where everybody has the potential to see some damaging winds across their area. So as far as overall threat, damaging winds are by far our biggest issue. I expect to see damaging winds across a big chunk of our area. And with the ground being saturated from the rain tonight and the rain that's going to come, that's going to bring down trees and power lines. So potentially we could have that issue. Flooding up there as well, especially in the mountains and foothills where there's a flood watch up through 9 a.m. But tornado threat, medium threat for tornadoes. That's definitely an elevated threat. We don't normally see that high of a risk across our area. And one of the things I always tell people is, when you're talking about preparing for this, I mean, a lot of folks, you watch TV and you think everybody's going to hype the weather. This isn't about hyping it. I mean, most of you will probably be okay tonight. You just have to be prepared and ready. I always equate it to having a seatbelt. I've worn my seatbelt every single day since I got my license when I was 16 years old. You know how many times I've needed that seatbelt? Maybe once, twice. But you wear your seatbelt not for the times you don't need it. You wear it for the times that you do need it. So for all the times you put your seatbelt on and you've never needed it, you wear it because of that time that maybe you're going to need it. So tomorrow morning is one of those heightened threats for tornadoes, and why I'm not going to often tell you need to have your helmets and have a plan together. Tomorrow is one of those days. You need to be ready, okay? Because if there is going to be a thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, it's not going to be your average tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning. The atmosphere is set up tomorrow that these are going to be strong, potentially significant tornadoes. So this isn't your typical spring setup. About once every 4 or 5 years, we have a setup like this. So tomorrow morning, it's not about scaring you. It's not about being freaked out. We're all at home. We're stuck at home because of COVID-19. It's about being ready. So just be prepared. The best thing you can do for fear is to have information and power. And the way you have power is to control the information. So in this case, we know we're going to have the potential for strong or severe storms tomorrow. So be ready. Just be ready. It's nothing to worry about. Nothing to freak out about. It's just the fact that, we're going to have some strong storms tomorrow. So again, the timing hasn't changed a whole lot. I'm going to move my face out of here. So I'm going to delete my face temporarily there. So there's a look at the timing. Again, this started at 8 p.m. tonight, which is about an hour ago. This is really after 2 a.m. into the morning hours. So the potential for severe storms are really going to be in that 4, 5, 6 o'clock time frame until about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. So charge up your phones. Make sure you have a way to get warnings. That's my biggest tip to you tonight. grab the WCNC Charlotte app. The best thing you could do, grab those two apps right there. WCNC, let me see, I'll put it right there. Those two apps right there. Those will both, you can set them up to give you warnings and alerts just for your location. You won't get overwarned, you won't get underwarned, but make sure you crank up the volume and turn off the mute. I know I mute my phone quite a bit at night, so make sure you have that ready to go tomorrow. Of course, we'll be on the air starting at 4 a.m. barring any warnings or watches. I expect a tornado watch will be issued here shortly. We just had a new one issued for parts of southwestern North Carolina. I'm looking over here on my other monitor. We had a tornado watch just issued up almost to Asheville. So that watch is up. I'm looking over here real quickly. That watch goes until, what is that watch issued to? Boy, that's like the wee hours of the morning. So let me look at this real quick. So that watch is in effect till 2 a.m. So west of Asheville, the watch is up to 2 a.m. That means probably after 2 a.m., we're likely going to see a watch issued for Asheville East, which will include the Charlotte metro area. So be ready now. Let me go back here. I'm going to show you the wider view here. Let me see if I can pop this up. What I'm going to do is turn on the radar and satellite here real quickly. So just drawing here, this is the line we're watching right in here. This should arrive. You know what? Let's do a storm track on that. I think that'll be the easiest way to do this. So let me turn on the radar and satellite here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a storm track. We'll stop it right here. And so that's moving into the upstate, right? I'm going to do a track on this. We're going to pull it to the east. So that moves it into the next Charlotte about 2 o'clock. That seems way early. Let me see what time. You know what? That looks a little early. Let me look at the actual radar data here. Let me do that one more time because I'm thinking that's a little early. Yeah, that's about 45 miles an hour. Let's put that at 30 miles an hour, which seems to be the general trend. There we go. This will be a better. So 4:50 in the morning. So at the earliest, we're going to see it's around 4:50 in the morning. That'll put it into Bristol around 12:30, Greenville about 2:20, Gastonia about 4 o'clock, Raleigh, and again, give or take an hour. Remember, these things are going to pick up and slow down based on their speed. You know, based on how fast or slow these things are moving. Let me turn the radar off here, and I'm going to turn on the regional radar just to show you where we have warnings. So we have one warning right now in northern Georgia. So we've got a couple of warnings in this line. And again, the thing we're worried about overnight tonight is that strong southerly winds are going to bring in some warm, humid air, which is going to intensify these storms that they had our way. So coming up tonight, later tonight at 11, Aisha Scott's going to have you covered at 11 p.m. starting at 4:30 a.m. Larry Sprinkle and I will be on the air. We'll have you covered throughout the night. Just make sure you charge up these devices and you're ready to roll as we get ready for severe weather on Monday morning. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. This will be my last update till tomorrow morning. Tune in at 4:30 a.m. And of course, if you don't have our WCNC Charlotte app, make sure you download it now. You can watch us streaming online. I'll send out alerts on Facebook and Twitter as we get closer to this event on Monday morning. Be safe and have a happy Easter.